your troubles away.
Hello, friends. Good morning and welcome to Coffee Talk. Those of you watching, let us know where you're from in the comments. We'd love to hear from you. Deborah Steele, how are you?
I am fantastic. You can see I've had some work done. I'm Laura. A busy weekend.
So for those of you
I've aged.
who are watching and are expecting Laura, she is actually passing papers on a new home today. We wish her well. This is Deborah Steele, who is my cohort in Coffee Talk and everything else. She sets all this up for me, and she makes a great co-host, former studio owner, now an entrepreneur in many ways. Tell everybody a little bit about yourself, my friend.
Had a studio for 35 years and loved most of those years, like everyone else. And then decided to sell so that I could have some time with my grandkids. Sold the building, bought some real estate property, just bought some more real estate property. Just that's kind of the route we're going, just to get us ready for retirement.
You still involved a little bit?
In the studio?
Yeah.
Yeah, 2 studios, actually. I actually helped 2 studios. I still love the business. I absolutely love the business. I just don't want to own it, but I love helping.
I love it.
And so what's new with you, my friend? What's going on?
I am packing up the Dance Life Retreat Center. It has been sold. Yeah, it's sad, but that era for me is done and completed.
Get it?
I found a family that loves this house, and I'm packing and moving on. Everything will continue, the conferences, idea, all those things, but I'm going to kind of be a free spirit and Airbnb it for a while.
You're going to be a gypsy. We're going to have to name you the Gypsy King.
I will be the Gypsy King. Wait,
So
and
freeing.
yeah, that's it. I'm so looking forward to it. I feel like it's an opportunity now, after everything that's been built, to kind of sit back, analyze the future, and make it better. Make it exactly what feels right to me.
Designing your own life. That's exactly the way everything should be. And does the new owner know that so many of us will be coming and spending time there with them?
I haven't told them that yet.
No, they'll have company.
There are restaurant owners from what's the town? Where is the stadium?
Foxborough?
Yeah, they have a restaurant in Foxborough. And so when they came to the house and they had chosen to purchase it, I had all of my retreat center goods out on tables for sale. They want to buy it all because they have a restaurant.
Oh, nice.
Like,
Perfect.
Whoa, okay, how cool is that? So,
nice.
Yeah, it's kind of, things happen when they're meant to happen.
Absolutely, and how they're meant to happen. And so all of the businesses will stay the same. Everything will stay the same.
Oh, yeah. Only they're going to get better. I have some plans, but I'm not ready to talk about those. But yeah, I'm going to keep rolling, my friend.
Excellent. Love it.
So I'm excited about our guest today and our topic. I grew up with a mom who ran the studio, was a single mom, married 3 times, but all 3 times she ended up being the breadwinner, the one who had to take care of things, etc. So I always knew strong women who could do it on their own. In our field, I continuously meet people like my mom who have taken the reins, raised their kids, and build their businesses to a point that they might not have had they not found themselves in the positions they're in.
Mhm.
Today, we have two guests, very successful, Kelly and Jessica, who have, what shall I say, taken the bull by the horn and managing a great family and running a business all by themselves, confident in themselves. We'll have them with us right after this. Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Welcome. I hope to see a lot of you this summer at the Dance Life Teacher Conference and the Soul Dancer Conference. You can learn more at regold.com. So here we are. I'd love for you guys to introduce yourself to our audience. I'll start with you, Kelly.
Hi, everyone. My name is Kelly Komorowski. I own 2 dance studios on Long Island, New York. I've owned them. We are going into year 23. So the first studio was opened back in 2002. And the second studio I opened 13 years later. I'm a single mom of 3 beautiful children. Right now, they are ages 9, 14, and my son just turned 16.
Awesome. Thanks for being with us. Jessica.
Yeah.
Hello, my name is Jessica, and I own Creative Dance Studio in South Florida, like Fort Lauderdale area. We just wrapped up our 9th season, and I am a single mom to my little man. He is 5 years old.
Awesome. So, tell me a little bit about how long you have been doing this on your own. Kelly.
I got divorced or separated technically in 2016. So I've been doing it for 8 years, right about now.
And you, Jessica?
2020. The
2020.
year of 4 years. Yeah.
So, what was the hardest part about owning a business and realizing that this marriage or relationship wasn't going to work? Kelly.
I think it was scary at first to think, can I balance everything on my own and give my children everything that they need, not necessarily want, but everything that they need to make their childhood just as happy. And the other side, of course, is financial, that anything financial burden, is just on my shoulders. And there's nobody to share that with. So if anything happens with the business, if I make a wrong choice, then myself and my 3 children will suffer. And I have nobody else to counterbalance that financial.
Okay. Before I go to you, Jessica, I want to ask you this, Kelly, and then remind me that I still owe her that same question. What did that do to you on the inside? Like, did you say, I'm scared? Or did you say, I got to make this work? There's no question. Here goes.
It was a slight hesitation. And then like a 2-hour later, aha moment. I can do this. I can handle this. And everybody jokes about my pantry, that I have about 40 boxes of cereal and all this food. But I'm always like, well, when you're the single person that might not be able to feed your kids, and I'm not even close to being in jeopardy of that, but there's always that moment of that could happen. So that what it did for me. It made me stock, make sure that I was okay, make sure that I had a savings, make sure that everybody would be okay. And that was it. And I got this.
And you had cereal till they were 18.
Basically, yeah.
Ready to go. That's. Yes. How about you, Jessica? What was the scariest part when it came to, okay, I'm going to make this decision to do this on my own?
To be honest, the business wasn't the scary part for me. It was more of a relief getting him out of he wasn't in my business. I owned it from the get-go by myself, but he was always meddling into it. So I think at least that point, it was a relief of I finally get to do things the way I know I want to do them. And I didn't have like a constant like negative vibe around me. So I watched aside from getting through, COVID and all after that, but after that, it was smooth sailing in regards to like the unnecessary stress that I didn't need. So I felt like I was better able to run my business when I was on my own. The only thing that was like a little frightening for me was like time management and knowing like to be intentional when I have time with my son. Like the co-parenting thing freaked me out beyond belief. So then it was kind of, you're talking to somebody who used to work Monday through Sunday and I would just have my son with me. But then once we got into co-parenting, I couldn't do that anymore because I had to hand him off for a weekend. And so it made me really sit down and take a look at my time and say like, okay, on weekends that I do have Xander, like I'm going to work Saturday till whatever the classes are till noon, but then I'm done. Like we're going to go spend our days together and we're going to go to the zoo or Disney or whatever.
It's funny.
We're laughing because she's basically at Disney when she isn't home.
It's funny because these two women, it doesn't surprise me that these two women are Gold Alliance members. And you know why it doesn't surprise me? Because the organization it has to take to do what you do by yourself. And I'm sure there's, Kelly, Jess, I know your mom's involved. Kelly, I'm sure your mom is involved.
My mom helps me tremendously.
Okay. So, but even so, they're not living in the household with you and dealing with when things occur at that moment, right? So you have to kind of take a breath, recoup. There's a bunch of tools that you must have to equip yourself with in order to be everything for those kids in the moment. And so you take the passion that you have for your dance studio, which most people open it up because you have a passion for dance, right? And then you take the organizational skills, like the women that you have created in yourself, because I say that because not all women turn out like this, but the women you have created that you have become are definitely, they're created in this instance. They didn't just happen. You guys did that. Like, and that's what is so empowering for women to see what you can do. And you don't have to be victims. And it's just amazing to me that you can do this like this. It's just amazing. I really, because it's hard on its own.
Yeah. That victim mentality will get you every time.
Yeah.
Things are not happening to you. They are always happening for you. And you just have to take it.
Go a little deeper into that, Jessica. Go a smidge deeper.
I mean, like with everybody else, 2020 was an insane year. Towards the end of 2020, it was for me like one thing after the next. It was like hit after hit after hit. Business things, personal things, the divorce happening, or me finding things out in order to start the divorce process happening. And I just like, after everything was said and done, everything worked out in my favor tenfold. So if none of that would have happened, I wouldn't be who I am right now if all of that happened. So, kind of like an arrow, it has to be pulled back to shoot forward. In order to launch yourself into the best version of yourself, you kind of have to be pulled back every once in a while. So I really, truly feel like things happened to me in a progression that made me like stronger little by little before the giant thing, which was my divorce and everything that went along with it. And for that, I'm like forever grateful for.
Same, Jessica. I have the same story. The timeline was just worked out.
It was, yeah. And now it's like, my son gets to have the best, happiest version of me. And it's because of that. And if I would have stayed and been in a toxic, miserable situation, he wouldn't have that. He would have had somebody who was essentially crying herself to sleep every night, rocking my newborn. I mean,
Ooh.
so now, people meet Xander. Most of you have met him. He's so friendly, so social.
Most of you. He's world renowned. Just look up Xander and his single name. You'll find him.
He's so cute.
Personality.
The mini Jessica.
Yes. I was thinking about this the other day because I was talking with a friend of mine who's on a similar situation right now, and she's on the fence of what to do. And I know with moms with young kids making the choice to leave, I know what kept me there way longer than I needed to be was the fact that the co-parenting. I didn't want to co-parent, but then I said, something happened and it made me make my choice very quickly. But looking back on it now, like Xander truly has like a very happy, like authentic version of me. And I credit that for what he's become now. And hopefully.
So maybe even a better mom.
100%.
Not only am I a better mom though, and I feel like my kids do get like just like you, Jess, I'm a better teacher. I'm better in the classroom. I used to walk in and I was so miserable in my personal life. I couldn't always walk in that door and separate it. And I think that's why my business has escalated because I am the better version of me. And I'm bringing that to all of my students. I'm bringing my happiness in those walls. I was not happy for years.
Yeah. And that's
okay.
That's no way to live your life.
No, not at all.
What would you say? This is a deeper coffee talk than I've ever had, but here goes. What would you say to other studio owners out there who might be struggling? I'm not saying I want you to say, get out of it. What's some advice though? Like, because listen, the point that you made is so valid, Kelly, when you said I'd walk into my classroom and be miserable because my life was, I don't want to say miserable. That sounds
It was.
whatever.
Yeah. It was.
I bet there's a lot of people who are affected like that. I'm going to tell this story real fast. And those of you who are watching, I'd love to hear comments or questions. My mother, I went to her house one day. She had been married to her third husband. And when I walked in, she said, I want him to go. The dog isn't bothering me.
I'm sorry. I know. It's always when we're on these things and I have to talk, he sees the FedEx in there.
My mother said, I want him to go. And I said, Ma, what made you decide this? And hear this, because I never forgot it. My mother said, when I get done at the studio, I drive by the house. If the lights are on, I drive around till he goes to sleep.
Yes.
I go, okay, I get it. I understand. So, yeah, I think there are some people who may be living in a state of dealing with it. So give some thoughts on that.
Well, I want to say that if you feel like the weight of the world is on your shoulders, the feeling of being free when you've made this decision, if this decision for you is like better than winning the Mega Millions, it is, you just become this person and you're so happy. And what I kind of said to myself when I was, making choices, and again, there was an activity that caused me to jump ship. I said, this isn't my last chapter. This isn't the final chapter of Kelly. And this is not how I am going to end my life. I'm going to take the bull by the horns, and I'm going to change and be the person that I want to be, because I was not the person I wanted to be when I was married.
Yeah.
I think this coffee talk is so important, more for the people that are steeped in it right now. Because the things that I'm hearing you say And I'm thinking to myself, I saw a quote the other day, and it said, it's not a life sentence, it's a life lesson. And I thought, that's so true. But when you're in it,
It's so hard.
it's everything's so cloudy and you can't seem to get out. It's like you're in a hole. So I think it's wonderful for people to hear how people got out of the hole. Like really, what were the steps you took? Remember what the steps you took to get out of where you were, not just I was in it and now I'm out of it. I think it might be
It's such a
important.
process.
Yeah. What's the what were some of the things that you did?
Yeah.
To get
I
out?
think there's a so if anybody reads Colleen Hoover, like she's a love novel kind of writer.
Say it again.
If you read Colleen Hoover, the book It Ends With Us, did you read that, Jessica?
I read it. Yeah.
There's a line in there where her mother says to her, never change your threshold. And I think that is such an important thing. And I said to myself when I read that line, how many times did I change my threshold? It was like, if he screams in my face one more time, if he hits me one more time, if he starts to abuse the kids, when he cheats, like you constantly change the threshold. And I think that at one point I finally said, well, at what point am I leaving? Because I keep changing. And I didn't, I read that book years later, but it hit me to say like, oh, that's exactly what I did. I changed my threshold over and over again. When you say this is my threshold, be true to yourself and say, this is my threshold. I give it to this and then I have to walk.
Yeah, I relate to that so very much.
But
and
what made you stop changing your threshold, Kelly? Like what
was the aha moment of how what I was luckily, I mean, I'll be frank, I caught him cheating, but luckily I was away with my mom and it gave me time to think back. And I was sitting there thinking, so it wasn't cloudy for a minute because I wasn't at work and I wasn't dealing with children. It was just me and my mom. And it gave me the moment to say, what point am I going? He's hit every checklist of when I said I would leave. And now this was my final straw and he hit it. And I'm still thinking about going back. What's wrong with me? What's wrong? And then I finally said, okay, we're done. This has to
What was wrong? Was it for the kids?
I think it was the unknown. It was the change. I don't do well with change. So who wants change? Even though I'm in a bad situation, I don't want to change.
Yeah, it's so scary.
Yeah, it's scary.
Yeah.
So that was it. It was the fear of change.
You have anything to add to that, Jessica?
Oh yeah. So
I love it.
I could see it in your eyes.
Parallel, so I get it. Like I am right there with you, Kelly. But Ree, you told us that story. I think you told Kelly and I that story at Gold Alliance retreat about your mother driving around if the light was on.
Yeah,
and that is my story. I'll never forget you asking me, like, I don't know, this was probably like 9 years ago at this point, but I had just opened my business and you asked me like, what's your work-life balance? And I was like, what life? I only work. Like, and I kind of transpired that consistently throughout like most of my 7-year marriage. And even once I had Xander, you heard me say I was working Monday through Sunday, but I was so much happier at work than I was at home. So I just I made my schedule. I made my schedule so that I didn't have to go home. And then of course it's like what came first. So you work too much, so this is why this isn't working, versus I want to be at work because I hate being home. And I genuinely hated walking into, and it's like that feeling right before you get into a car accident, but I felt like that all the time. Like that's not a way to live. Like if you can't shut your brain off and not be on eggshells in your own home. But I was fortunate enough that I had my studio. So this is what kind of was my safe place because he really never came over here, even though it was a block away from the house. So for me, that was like a constant thing and so then when I left and I actually liked going home, I said, oh, hold on, I don't have to work Monday through Sunday anymore. I can take my days off. So that was a huge eye opener for me. And then in regards to the process of leaving, I don't know how deep you want me to get into this, but my story is a pretty good one. Amongst Kelly knows.
Give it to us in a revised, shorter version.
It'll be short. But amongst an awful toxic marriage, abuse, alcoholism, financial, all the fun stuff, I found out he was having an affair, and that was my smoking gun. I used to pray to God every day, please give me a reason to leave, because for me, like, okay, you can be nicer. You can, like Kelly said, you're just changing your threshold. Like, oh, that's not enough for me to leave. And I have genuinely made the decision, like, I'm just going to stay till Xander's 18 so I don't have to co-parent. I'll put my happiness aside. It is what it is. I have a kid and I'm just going to focus on Xander. But then once I found out about the affair, I was like, all right, that's it. Like, we're done. That's it. And so I stayed quiet for a month while I hired my lawyer, got all my ducks in a row. He left for work one day. I said, have a great day. The movers came in. I cleaned out my house and I sent him a text message later. I got his name off my business account, like, because, he would like, I was scared he would have just drained the business account out of retaliation. So I like did everything I needed to do. And I just like left. I took everything, all of my things, which was everything. And that was it. So it was so scary. And it's funny, even as everything was out of the house in storage, I remember standing in my parents' driveway and telling my mom, like, I'm not going to do it. I can't send him that text message. I'm not doing it. I'm going to go back to the house. My mom was like, you left already. Like, you have to send this text message. And I like, it was like Kelly said, like the change, the unknown, like you're literally launching yourself into a territory that's like you don't get married with the intention of doing this ever. So, and it was such a like, oh my God. And, and I have all my friends telling me like, oh, you're so strong. I can't believe you just did this. That's amazing. Like, you're so inspiring. Everybody's in the same boat, but you actually did it. And I was like, I had no idea what it was literally just like a fog of like moving forward, like at full speed. And then it was wild. Like, I couldn't believe I just did that. And even still, I was about to back out at the last minute. My mom's like, you need to send that text message. So yeah, it's so scary. But once you do it, I'll never forget. About a week later, we were in Disney, surprise. And on our way back, I was packing up the car and I was like, I realized at that moment that I didn't feel stressed or anxious or like wired to go home. I was like excited to go home and just be home, which was never the case.
Yeah. And I have the same thing. And I have to say that now all I want to do is be home.
Yeah.
I used to work from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. My kids had beds at the studio that they would sleep in. And sometimes he would pick them up, but I would just be like, oh, I'm going to work late tonight, or Sundays, let me go up and find a project. Now I think I go into the studio like 8 or 9 hours a week. Because I just love being home. It's peaceful.
How interesting is this? Just because I want to make this point, Kelly, am I right that you were really kind of struggling with your business at the time you and your husband split up?
Yep.
But in the meantime, now where is your business?
Oh, it's amazing. It's phenomenal. Brings me quite a lot of money in every year. Yeah. I don't know how far you want me to go with it, but yeah, I was struggling. And again,
tell everybody how many kids you have in these two studios.
We're at about 800. Yeah. 200 account members. Yeah.
What does your husband say now, or does he say anything?
He doesn't. He tries to. He is a better person, I want to say, at times. Sometimes no, but sometimes yes. So when he's in his good moods, he will, like when I just bought a new house. I just completely upgraded my house and bought a very nice, beautiful, I love it house. So the first time he came in, he just said, congratulations on the house. That was it. Just like that. Congratulations. So he's trying. He doesn't.
Which is probably huge for him.
It is.
He's probably dying on the inside.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I will give him props that he did say that. Yeah.
How about you, Jessica? Same thing. Where's your business at?
My business is way better. Way better because I can make decisions peacefully. I think I was scared to spend money because of getting in trouble. I guess for lack of a better word. So now I get to run things how I know I can, and it's so much better because I can make decisions and not have to like run it back with somebody who actually had no say in my business, but it affected his bottom line because I was a piggy bank. So, I was able to, now I'm just able to like run it the way I want to, which is the biggest blessing.
Wow, go ahead, Deborah. I could see something coming.
No, I think that it's so funny because like around this time of the year, and you read posts on all the different Facebook groups, and you read people are they're having an issue in their studio, and you can read their angst, and you could read their desperation, and you can read how it's affecting. And when you're standing on the outside of it, and you're looking and you're saying, but that's not really that big of a problem. But to them, it's life shattering. And oh my God. And I think what's happening and what you guys are showing is that when you're out of it and you have more confidence in yourself, then your decision-making skills, you don't question them so much. It's like, this is what I have to do. Because the decisions you've made previous to this are so much larger. They're how to feed your kids. They're how to keep, other humans alive. So some of this other stuff, it kind of puts it into perspective.
You're so right.
Right. And I think that sometimes when I read some of these, I think when you live life more and you get more perspective, right, it makes things, you can kind of roll a little bit more with the punches. Whereas I can honestly say, when I owned the studio when I was younger, my God, it was like, and I would say those things to my husband, and he'd go, "You're upset? Why?" And anyone else, but you don't understand. Like, nobody ever understood. But they're so right. It's not, so much of it is not really earth shattering. It's just, she's got a graduation and she can't make dress rehearsal, and it's okay. Like, it's what do I tell the other? Like, it's just so much, right? And so
listen, that exact situation happened to me. This recital, my graduating senior, who was the Little Mermaid, had her graduation the day of the show. Like, so she missed all dress rehearsal, whatever. But again, when you've been through like hell and back, like, it's fine. Like, this is dance. Like, we are dancing and this is fun. Like, we are putting a show on. I am picking costumes. Like, I literally dreamed about this from when I was a little girl, and I still get to do it. So, like, after dealing with everything I went through and making it out and still being successful, like, throw it at me. Like, this is so fun. Like, we're having a blast.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely think it's the mindset. I mean, I'm not minimizing anyone's frantic decisions, or, that's just because we're passionate people, which is probably why we went into this, right? We're passionate about dance. And so consequently, we're going to be passionate about everything, right? It's either, the car hit my dog, or I couldn't get salami at the store. It's the exact same level of, So I think we all have to take that into conversation, right?
Sometimes I'm guilty of that. I have to go, whoa, this is a little compared to that one.
You want to know what going through my situation taught me, though, is to not, and this kind of goes in line with what you're talking about, it's to not react emotionally out the gate. Like I said, I found out that my ex-husband was having an affair, and I stayed quiet. He had no idea that I knew. And me doing that, I had obviously ulterior motives. It was my safety and my son's safety that I cared about the most. So it forced me to do that. But it taught me a huge lesson. So when things are going sideways, and it's to kind of like take a step back and react logically. And how are you going to get out of this? How are you going to fix it? And then when it's over, you can let your emotions go wild. But I know for me, that was one of my biggest lessons and takeaways from that situation, is not flying off the handle right away, because it's not going to get you anywhere. It's not going to solve any of your problems. Like, solve the problem in front of you, and then later you can cry about it. But
so that's a tool you've developed, and that's good. It's to have those tools. That's good. You have to practice them. Yeah.
I have yet to develop that tool, but I will work on it.
I'll help you out, Kelly.
Listen, it's not always about doing it. It's knowing what's right to do and catching yourself and doing it as much as you can.
Yeah.
There is no way to have the perfect answer to push things away. I'm always telling people, let that go. But
Mhm.
I find myself not letting some things go. So I'm willing.
You're human.
It's practice as best as you can what you preach.
Mhm.
Do you believe that your confidence in yourself could be what it is that is making you a success right now?
I think it's the confidence, and I think it's my level of happiness
Mhm.
in myself and my life. That again, I can walk into a room of 4-year-olds and scream and yell and hug everybody and be like, "Hey, let's dance, let's go." Where years ago I couldn't have done that. I
Mhm.
walked in the room and said, "Okay, guys, go to the bars."
How about you on the confidence thing? Because I want to bring this up in a way in a second. I almost called you Laura. Jessica.
You can call me Laura. So unlike Kelly, I was really good because you said you would be upset and then coming in to the studio and you would still carry it in with you. I don't know if it was to my detriment, but I was really good at leaving it outside. So I would come in and not one person knew what was going on. And it would be some of the worst nights and days of my life. And I would come in like, and nobody knew. But that's not healthy, I feel like, because I was putting up so many walls and so many fronts. And then when everything did come and everybody realized what was going on, I think most people were completely shocked about what was happening. So I do feel like I always had confidence in myself. I think for a while it was a prove people wrong thing because unlike my parents, my ex-husband totally thought this business was going to fail. He was telling me that from the get-go, from when I started it. And I just didn't really listen. Thank God. And my parents raised me with the mindset of like, you can do anything, you're strong, which is amazing. And so I know I was always confident, but I think the biggest difference is now it's authentic and I'm more transparent and I'm not putting on a front trying to be strong for people that quite frankly really some people care, but a lot of people don't. A lot of people just want the story. So I think now it's what you see is what you get a lot more. And yes, the transparency, the authenticity. And I think I'm still confident, but I think I'm just confident in a different sense now.
See, for me, listening to you guys, I say, what would stop somebody from putting themselves in a better place than they're in? And whether we use the word confidence or believing in yourself, that's what it takes for you to say to yourself, I deserve better than this, and then take the steps. So many business owners or studio owners that I work with, they become extremely successful once it snaps and they believe in themselves. So if you look at this situation, if you find yourself in it, it could be just, I want to say this, sitting down and talking with your significant other and maybe getting to understand each other better than holding all those differences in. But also, if it isn't going to work, the confidence and belief in yourself that, okay, now I am going on my own journey and I'm not going to allow myself to fail. And that happens when you have the confidence or you believe in yourself. I've rarely seen someone fail who completely believes in themselves. Think about what I just said. It's the truth.
Yeah.
You're just going to make it happen. Like there's no other option, in my opinion. And you just do it. What other choice do you have? Like you just go for it and figure it out along the way.
I also think some people live in a normal that to them, because it feels normal, because it's always what they've known. That's why they're afraid to step out of that normal. You see it with people that like to argue, like to fight. It's so normal to be dysfunctional that way, right? That you're like, well, why would you want to do that? But I guess if I lived every single day like that, it doesn't seem like it's weird. I'm thinking, you're weird. Why don't you want to fight? You know what I mean? Because that's a normal. So yeah, right. It's just what you do every day. I just noticed that when I sold the studio, my normal was to be living by deadlines, and they're right there. They're right there. And that was my normal. My normal was to be on high alert, waiting for someone to come at me with that. Like that was my normal, and I didn't realize that I wasn't really breathing, too much until I was not in that. So I think it's also your environment, right? And what
Absolutely.
you got to like sit with yourself and just be quiet and just sit with yourself and say, this is what normal feels like. Now let's go about my day and let's see what that is. And then just so that you are aware that that might not be normal, right? It's hard to distinguish when you're in it.
Or it might not be normal anymore. The one thing you have to accept in this life, and you really believe it as you get older, it change. If you can't accept a change or even a loss of people along the way and sort of be grateful you have those people rather than upset about it, the change and being open to it is what brings new things into your life, what brings a joy, what sets your future up. A lot of people can't accept change. And I'm a big believer in it. I kind of do it every 10 years. Like, where am I going next? And I love that journey.
Yeah.
Before we're not closing yet, but Deborah, just so some of these successful marriages out there that have existed for a long time in our dance world, because it does happen. There are awesome teams out there work together, etc. You've had a successful marriage for how many years, my friend?
It'll be 40 in October.
Wow. Good for you, Deb.
Yeah.
What do you owe to that?
Because he just says yes, dear. I'm not even sure. Like it there. Okay. First of all, neither one of us, we knew what we were getting into. We were super young and probably super stupid. But I think that we knew each other. We were best friends before immediately. So I think that going into it, he allowed me. When I say allowed, you got to know me. I don't mean allowed like, yes, you can do it. He afforded me the for me to have my dream, because he knew I always wanted it. And so he knew that was important to me. And so because that was important to me, it was important to him. And I think that was the big thing, is I found someone who cared about waking up every day and making someone else happy. Because he does it with his kids too. He just, how can I make you happy? Like that is him. And so all my friends, my relatives, every time they meet someone, they go, I think I met a David. I think I met a David. Like everyone wanted a David. And I'm very lucky. I don't know what I did to deserve it, because sometimes I can be hard. I'm passionate about what I do. And I'm probably not the easiest person to live with, but I never wanted to make him unhappy. It's like kicking a puppy. So I never want that to happen. But that's in our marriage. He was always, what can I do? Even when it came to the studio, but he didn't know, like the studio was my thing, right? He ran the house. He did those accounts. Right. He did all those and I did the studio, and it just worked. It just worked for us. I don't know if it'll work for everyone, because usually everybody has to be in everyone's everything, but that was my dream. Right. And he didn't have to be in my dream. He could do what made him happy. And he was definitely that provider. He took that very seriously. So he's great at it. So, but that's what works for us.
So whatever you want there is really
when you have an Italian wife, sure. Probably the easiest, or European of any kind.
That's great. I love that, Deborah. I've known you a long time, and I love your story as well. And what did he say when it was time, or you felt it was time to sell the business? Did
Oh,
he
thank
go,
God. Oh, thank
"That's what
God.
he-"
Well, because he knew what he knew. It's a lot. It's a lot, and it takes you. You got to give a piece of yourself. It's a very personal business. It's not like I'm running a clothing store and somebody came in and said, I don't really like paisleys and stripes together. It's not like that, right? And so everything is very personal. Our work is personal. Everything comes from the inside, and so therefore, it's easy to feel attacked, or do you know? It's easy, and if you don't like. Believe it or not, I don't like confrontation. It doesn't make me feel good. I don't like to be ducking people in a grocery store. I don't like it. It just doesn't make me feel good. I don't like hiding behind the aisle until they pass. Like I don't like it. And so all of I don't know. I don't want to do it anymore. I just want to help people.
That's why I get my groceries delivered, everybody, just so you know.
Yeah. When I was a kid, we drive past 20 grocery stores that were near our house to go to the furthest grocery store because my mother didn't want to run into people.
Because as you say all the time, we got to be on, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes when you're in like your sweats and your flip flop and your hair is like, you just don't want to be on. I don't want to remember little Precious's name. I just don't. So I love
my mother used to say, the mom would say something, introduce herself, maybe the kid was there, and my mom would always look at the mom and say, she seems like she loves it. And the mom would be, oh, thank you, and we'd walk away and she'd say to me, do you know who that was?
Happens.
So there's, for everybody watching, she seems like she loves it.
Love
Great answer.
Love it.
Or now it's the grandparents. Like the grandparents will see me in the food store and be like, the recital was great. And it's like, just because you saw me on the stage, I did not see you in the audience. I
You are.
Yeah.
Smiling at. Oh my God. Thank you so much.
Yeah, like, oh, I'm so good. You loved it.
People will just put you on the spot. Do you know who I am? And I'm
Yeah.
like,
And they say that. I'm like, I have no idea.
and I'll say, I'm the uncle of so-and-so. I see you every year. And I'm like, but do I see you?
Right.
Or you just see me?
Yeah.
Yeah. And when I stopped being able to respond nicely is when I said, it's got to be done. It's got to be done.
Yeah, I just decided to have them delivered at that point in time. The grocery to the house.
I love that idea for everybody out there. You can't stand.
That'll be my next
nicely.
Tuesday. Have everything delivered.
You never leave the house other than to go to the studio.
Uber Eats.
Love it. Don't run into anybody.
Well, I don't know if this was the direction we decided to take this in.
Wherever it goes, it goes. That's what Coffee Talk is all about. But this was one of the most, this is a documentary Coffee Talk, maybe. Give me some final words of advice, Kelly. Some thoughts on what we've discussed, or if there's someone out there maybe struggling.
I think if you're struggling, you need to step back, and however that is for you, whether it's to go away for a night by yourself, find a hotel room that's 5 minutes away and just stay by yourself, and do whatever you can step back and figure out what path would make you happiest in life. And that's the most important thing. And I think I can speak for Jessica too, that if you need any help or someone to hold your hand through any changes, we would both happily do that for you and talk you through that, or just be a person that you can just talk to, or can help you in anything that you need. But it's important to make yourself happy.
Yeah.
And figure out what
How
you
to
want.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's not your final chapter. That's my final word. This is not your final chapter unless you're happy.
Yep. A lot of life sentence. It's a life lesson. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, say that again a little louder for the people.
Not a life sentence. It's your life lesson.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. That goes for everything, not only what we're talking about today. Yeah. Jessica, some final words of wisdom.
Yeah, just if this is a situation that you're in the thick of and you're thinking things through and you're wondering how to get out of it, and I know it's scary, but you're so much stronger than you think you are. choosing your happiness every day is not something you will ever regret. So think about yourself. If you're a mom, think about your kids and what version you want them to know of you. I know that was the biggest turning point for me, and understanding that being happy makes everybody around me better. And then having the confidence to follow through. It's a scary thing to do, but like Kelly said, on the other side of it, it is so wonderful. And it's like a weight off your shoulders and living a life that you get to design. You know, even taking it further, once I did that, which I consider one of the hardest things I've ever done, it was so much easier removing other people from my life, whether it be clients or teachers or friends, because after that, I worked so hard to keep my circle and my world good and happy and positive vibes that it was very easy to just really set, if we want to call it boundaries or whatever we want to say it is, but it wasn't as hard to remove other people from my life. So it just gets the ball rolling. And like I said, you're more than capable. So.
And the level of respect you'll get from the parents at the studio as well, because every parent that's married will say, I respect you because I don't know how you do this. I don't know how you juggle. I could never juggle it my own. And the single moms feel such a connection. Like she gets
really
when I'm overstressed, I can say, you know how this is being a single mom.
I actually had a situation happen. I don't know if we have time for a very quick story, but
Go.
right in the middle of the beginning, right? It was the summer after our divorce is finalized, and we were right in the thick of learning how to co-parent, and I hated it. He was whatever, but he was taking Xander, and there was a miscommunication in regards to whether it was going to be an overnight or not. And nothing was really set because no papers were signed yet, and it wasn't supposed to be. And it was in the lobby of my studio. Thank God it was a summer class, and there wasn't a lot of people there, but it was a scene. He caused it was really bad. The cops were almost called. Like, it was so bad. And I was thinking, oh my God, I cannot believe this just happened here. Like, I keep everything out of here and whatever. I was so embarrassed. And I went back into, I had Xander. Xander ended up staying with me. He left. And there was a mom who I'd never met before. She was probably there for like her first or second class in the summer. And I came around the hallway and I'm going into the room and she's crying. And she said, oh my God, she's like, I'm so proud of you. I don't even know you, but I'm so proud of you. You're so strong. And she was like, I've been through the same thing and I would have never done what you just did. And I was like, oh, and it was something that it gave me chills. And I really I think that lady just did the summer and I never saw her again. But it was one of those situations where I was like, oh my God, I can't believe that. And like you said, like, so many people are cheering you on and so many people are proud of you and amazed by you, because not everybody does it. A lot of people stay unhappy because it's scary. So if you're scared of that, I say go for it.
And we do also have to make sure we add that if there's any men out there going through the same thing, the advice is the same.
Oh, yes.
It's really genderless.
Absolutely.
So, but I just want to make sure, just because we've been talking a lot about women owning.
Let's stick up to the men here.
Yeah.
Go ahead, go for it.
If there's any good guys out there, Jessica and I are still and we know this as well.
This is how I feel like. I missed the joke. Sorry.
Kelly said we're both still single, so if you guys know any good guys.
Oh, okay. That is. See, I was thinking that earlier. Who wouldn't want to be with you two?
Aw, thanks, Reed. That just boosted my self-confidence a lot.
No,
my
I
biggest
mean
low
that.
self-esteem right there.
Yeah.
Like,
But
for
you want
me-
to know something? And I say that this is my new line now when people ask me why I'm single, because they're like, why are you still single? And it's one of those questions that I'm like, is that a backhanded compliment? But I always say, like, well, until I find somebody that adds value to my life, then
There you
I'll
go.
be happily single, because I really like my life right now. So
Same.
unless somebody can add value to everything I already have, then I don't need it. So
I love that your standards are sky high at this point.
hi.
That's the confidence and believing in
Yep.
yourself.
Yep.
Mhm.
So, this was deep. Thank you for sticking with us. and know this, whether you're going through something like we've talked about today or some other crisis that may be going on or feels like a crisis to you, I think from today's coffee talk, we've kind of learned that sometimes you just have to stop and figure out what it is you want. Make that decision. Go for it without looking back. It is your life. We are the creators. We mold the clay of our life into the journey. And I have spent a lot of my life doing things that other people suggested that I should do. And about halfway through, I did what I wanted to do and never really look back. It's believing in yourself and setting yourself up in the life that feels awesome for you, with or without a partner or a husband or a wife, because I believe those who feel like they must have that might be
Selling
missing.
themselves short.
Yes.
Yeah.
Big time.
Yep.
It's not the end all be all.
But that does not mean I don't want anybody to interpret this as I don't support a good relationship, a
No.
good partnership, a good marriage. That is
Listen,
not.
it's not for everybody. Single's not for everybody. Married's not for everybody. It's you got to design what works for you. You and you have to know that you can design.
And a
Yeah.
solid
You can
something
design.
that's
That's
so
it.
helpful, right?
You
I think
support happiness.
having
Ree.
somebody there for you is an incredible thing. But if they're not, then it's time to go.
It narrows down to these words as we close. Happiness is a choice.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Happiness is a choice. Thank you all for being with us. We will see you at the next coffee talk. Thank you, Deborah.
You're welcome. Thanks, Kelly and Jess. Love you,
All right,
girls.
thank you guys.
Stay
Love
with
you.
me.